Today, we're going to talk about a word that we all use, and honestly, we often use it against ourselves: lazy. But what if I told you that from a psychological point of view, it's not even a real thing? All right, let's get into it. You know the feeling, right? That little voice in your head when you just can't get started on your to-do list. And then comes that wave of guilt. You start calling yourself lazy, unproductive, maybe even a bit of a failure. But what is actually going on there? And this is really the heart of it. A lot of psychologists will tell you that laziness isn't a character trait. Not at all. It's just a label we stick on things when we don't understand the real reason behind our inaction. Turns out, our brain always has a motive for what it does, or for what it doesn't do. So here's the big idea. What we feel as laziness is almost always a symptom. Think of it like a big red flag that your mind is waving, trying to signal that something else is really going on. There's some kind of barrier that's stopping you from taking action. So let's break down what some of those barriers might be. First up, let's talk about your personal resources. Just like your phone has a battery that runs down, your mind and your body have a limited supply of energy. And when that energy is gone, inaction isn't laziness. It's basically your system going into low power mode. And two of the biggest drains on that battery: stress and burnout. And this is such a perfect way to picture the difference. We tend to mix these two up all the time, but they're not the same. Stress is that feeling of too much, too many emails, too much pressure. It feels like you're drowning. Burnout, though, that's a feeling of not enough. It's a state of being totally empty, like the well has run dry. And if you look at the signs of burnout, they sound a whole lot like what we call laziness, don't they? Feeling tired all the time, losing your motivation, that nagging self-doubt. When you're in a state of burnout, it's not that you don't want to do things, it's that you feel like you literally can't. Your internal battery is completely dead. Now, check this out. There's another resource we're draining all day, every day, without even thinking about it. 35,000. What is that? Well, that's roughly how many decisions the average adult makes every single day, from what to eat for breakfast to huge life choices. Every single one takes a little piece of your energy. And when you add all that up, you get this: decision fatigue. A great way to think about it is that your willpower is like a muscle. The more you use it to make decisions, the more tired it gets. And as the day goes on, your brain starts looking for shortcuts. And you know what the easiest shortcut is? Just doing nothing at all. Okay, so this brings us to the next massive barrier, and it's a big one: procrastination. We usually think of procrastinating as like the definition of being lazy. But once again, psychology tells us there's something else going on under the hood. You're not lazy, you're stuck. In fact, there are a few common hidden motives for why we procrastinate. Perfectionism can paralyze you with that do it perfectly or don't do it at all mindset. Self-doubt whispers in your ear, why even start? You're probably going to mess it up. Or maybe the task was just assigned to you, so you have no personal motivation to do it. And, of course, just plain old exhaustion, that burnout we were talking about, leaves you with zero fuel in the tank to get started. So there it is again. The behavior we call lazy is really just a self-protective response. So instead of beating yourself up for putting something off, a much better question to ask is, what is my brain trying to protect me from right now? Now, we have to talk about a more serious category of barriers, because sometimes a constant, persistent inability to do things isn't just about being tired or stuck. It can actually be a sign of an underlying medical condition. And a really key term here is avolition. This is not laziness. It's a clinical symptom that's often linked to conditions like depression. And the difference is absolutely critical. We frame laziness as being unwilling to do something, but avolition is being unable to. You just can't summon the energy to act. And this is exactly why knowing the difference between something like burnout and clinical depression is so important. They can look really similar on the surface, but their causes and, more importantly, their treatments are totally different. Burnout is usually tied to a specific situation, like work, but depression is a medical condition where those negative feelings tend to impact every single part of your life, and it often requires professional treatment. Okay, so we've pretty much busted the myth of laziness. The big question now is, what do we do about it? Where do we go from here? Well, the very first step is to stop the blame game. It's time to shift our focus away from self-criticism and toward curiosity and self-care. When it comes to something like burnout, a really simple framework to remember is the 3 R's. First, you recognize the signs that we've been talking about.
Second, you start to reverse the damage by finding support and actively managing your stress. And third, you build resilience by making your physical and emotional health a real priority.
So what does that actually look like day to day? Well, you can start by getting curious. Try to figure out the real cause of your inaction. Are you burned out? Afraid of failing? Then take some small, concrete steps. Start setting boundaries to protect your time and energy. Make getting quality rest non-negotiable. And if you have to do a task you hate, try to find your own reason for doing it, your own little reward. And maybe the most important step of all, talk to someone.
And really, that brings us to the final, most important takeaway from all of this. The next time you feel that urge to call yourself lazy, just pause, take a breath, and try asking yourself this question instead. Shifting from a question of judgment to a question of need can literally change everything. It's the first step from blaming yourself to taking care of yourself, and from feeling stuck to feeling human again.